Okay, here's the situation. Apparently, there's an issue of religious discrimination in Kittaning, Pennsylvania. A Reverend Don Toy, the owner of a Christian book and gift store in Kittaning, was approached by a company that was selling advertising for a local restaurant. The restaurant was going to put ads in their Christmas issue of their menu. So Toy bought an ad on the menu for his Christian book and gift store. After buying the ad, shortly afterwards, the salesman reapproached him and said that he had been informed by corporate, and it's not the corporate of the restaurant, but the corporate of the company that had been contracted to sell the ads. The restaurant's a restaurant called Garda's Restaurant in Ford City, Pennsylvania. The company is a company called BPI or BPPI out of Washington State. So the salesman has been told by BPPI that he's not allowed to accept advertising that promotes Christianity. So, of course, Toy, the owner of the bookstore, gets all up in arms and contacts the restaurant, and the restaurant has no idea what's going on, of course, so they're all flustered, so they contact BPPI to find out what's going on, and in the meantime, all of them contact the newspaper in Kittaning to get their story out about how Christianity is being assaulted by this company that's discriminating against Christians for not allowing them to put their ads in the menus of restaurants in Ford City. Well, it turns out that the reason BPPI rejected the ad is that they reject all ads of any religious nature, because 14 years ago they were putting ads for churches and other religious organizations on menus that they had contracted with, and a group of Satanists wanted to buy an ad, and they wouldn't allow the Satanists to buy the ad, so the Satanists sued them. So in order not to have to deal with the Satanists anymore, they just made a blanket policy not to accept religious advertising. So as you can see, Toy was absolutely right. It is a case of religious discrimination. They're discriminating against Satanists, but in order to be allowed to discriminate against Satanists, they also discriminate against Christians and Jews and Muslims and anybody else. The problem is they institutionalized this policy only so that they wouldn't have to allow Satanists their free speech rights. It wasn't because they personally feel that it's wrong to advertise religion on these menus. They just don't want Satanists to be allowed. And presumably, I would assume they don't want to allow atheists or Wiccans or neo-pagans because, ooh, they're evil. So, here's what I want to do. I want to get this video forwarded to Dennett, Dawkins.net, The Thinking Atheist, anybody that you can think of that has a website or a book to promote or anything like that that might want to buy an ad on a menu, and have them contact BPPI and ask to be allowed to advertise, because BPPI caved in to this Christian bookstore and allowed them to advertise, but the Christian bookstore was having none of that. They had already been offended and didn't want to advertise now, and the restaurant also, Garda's Restaurant in Ford City, also wants to pull out of their menu or pull out of their contract with BPPI because, you know, they discriminated against Christians, for crying out loud. How dare they? So, yeah, forward this to everybody you can think of that might have a reason to want to advertise anything, and have them contact BPPI and insist on their right to advertise too. After all, if they're going to allow the Christians to do it, they have to allow us all.